To tell the story of Kraftwerk, you have to go back to the early 70s to West Germany, to the city of Dusseldorf. Artists of the time sensed a turning point and fought for a new identity. A nameless humiliation and emptiness inherited from the war created an intense desire to create something new. Some threw bombs at government buildings, but others created art instead. Teenagers saw that German culture had been destroyed, with an American head put on it. This emptiness created excitement because there was so much work to do and so much possibility for reinvention. The artists of the time took from the golden age of creativity of the Weimar Republic, named for the short-lived government of the 20s and early 30s. This was a time when Germany led the way not only in mathematics, engineering, and chemistry, but in the arts and sciences, in film, psychology, design, and conceptual art. The 60s was a great time for music, and this generation in Germany started making their music in the late 60s. Kraftwerk started out playing shows with what are now known as the Krautrock bands. The Krautrockers loved Jimi Hendrix, the Beatles, the Velvet Underground, the Stooges, and Andy Warhol. These acts all crossed over the language barrier well because they were all very Deschampian. They all had a deep hidden message. They each had a ready-made mythology. They understood that it's not what you hear or see that creates art. It's the imprint that is made on the brain. This is what makes you become fascinated and stand and look at the same painting for 5 or 10 minutes or watch the same movie over and over. Great artists are able to create a myth about themselves, and so this makes it so you remember them. They create an image in the mind of the audience. The Krautrockers realized they weren't going to write as good a song as the Beatles or shred as hard as Jimi Hendrix or Eric Clapton. So they instead created freaky mental images with disturbing and psychological soundscapes. If they could tell a story that the audience could get into, they didn't even have to play a note. And besides, nobody shredded harder than the Americans and the British. And so it was okay to be geeky and cerebral if they wanted to. The Krautrockers kept some of English and American rock and roll, but the music they created was also very futuristic. Synthesizers and electronics were combined with a rock and roll beat. The sound and style of the electric guitar was completely deconstructed and made into a cosmic instrument. Newly imagined as an instrument created for long ambient passages, sonic experimentation with electronic noises and scary psychedelic imagery was employed, as concerts were often given at art galleries, which added atmosphere. The music was similar to the more spaced-out jams of Jimi Hendrix or Pink Floyd, but it was also inward-looking and serious. As a result, a band like Kraftwerk didn't feel the need to show off how far out they were. Verse, chorus, verse song structures were often thrown away, as well as attempts to copy American blues-style guitar playing. While the rest of the world was indulging in endless drum solos and guitar solos, destroying hotel rooms and wanking on their instruments, Ralph and Florian started their journey, making music that would eventually turn into the techno-pop of today. Human emotion could now be expressed in art by using synthesizers to play guitar riffs. Electronic flutes, drum pads, drum machines, vocoders, and custom-built sequencers, mixers, synthesizers, and tone generators were employed. Kraftwerk breathed life into these instruments, and they showed that they had a personality of their own, and thus provided the building blocks for modern pop music. They believed that the synthesizer was an acoustic mirror, a brain analyzer that is super sensitive to human emotion, in a way in which previous instruments were not. As a result, the synthesizer is really better disposed to reveal human psychology than a piano or a guitar. In a time before digital technology, these ideas were truly novel, and building an identity for electronic instruments paved the way for their eventual adoption in popular music.